The Papah Trail. Let's go, 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 go. Yeah, 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 yeah. For the love of money, niggas come around. For the love of money, some stay around. For the love of money, what a nigga will do. For the love of the money. I gotta shake it, 12 at night to 5 in the morning. They don't give a fuck. No, if it's for the money, niggas gon' bark and they bite like a motherfucking dog. Gotta party like a motherfucking dog. For that cat, I am gon' roof and I'm barking at that cat, and I am gon' take the roof off when I'm riding in that ride. Real leaning to the left, but I'm steady on the right. I'm swerving with a purpose, with a purpose. A nigga been sipping on that purple. A nigga been cheaping on that purple. Cause I'm getting money, I'm getting money, cause I'm getting money. And I'm laughing all the way to the motherfucking bank, and I'm telling her, tell me later if she thinking what I'm thinking. Damn me get money. I walk about the bank and I stuck up in the wheel, headed to my next big destination.
Jay-Z has been named in the Epstein files, and in this video, I'm going to show you some of the emails where his name comes up. Now, I've never really thought he was that great of a rapper, but in this video, I'm going to show you the emails, and then we're going to go through a psychological exercise confirming the allegations are 100% true. So we start with this email. It's on the 10th of July, 2019. A victim identifies herself as someone who had been abused by Jeffrey Epstein and others. She provided the following information. So, in approximately 1994, the person itself, a past victim, described the abuse occurring during parties, further identified as a friend of X. So, in 96, X resided with someone, redacted name, an unknown man abducted her from her home, where she later awoke in the presence of Harvey Weinstein and Sean Carter, Jay-Z. Before I get back to the emails, I want to show you. See all of these? These are all case files. I'm a true crime YouTuber on my other channels. I've seen thousands of communications between victims, suspects, and all people involved. And when you do something over and over again, you become better at it, right? You learn to pick up things. What do people mean by saying this? What did he mean by saying that? You can kind of read between the lines. When in your life have you ever put Harvey Weinstein and Jay-Z in the same sentence? Never. It never comes up. Take away this case, those two names are never in your vernacular. It's too random to be making it up. So again, she later awoke in the presence of Harvey Weinstein and Sean Carter, Jay-Z, while Weinstein had inserted his fingers into, what a dirty bastard. She believes she was in Epstein's mansion in Florida. Now, the image I have on my head is this one. This isn't the mansion they're in because I don't think Florida has this kind of flooring. But you see the sinister, occultish type vibe. That's the kind of room I'm picturing in. It's as if continues that X person estimated she was abducted on 7 occasions, awaking each time in an opulent indoor setting, suffered from abuse on multiple of those occasions in which Epstein participated, and recalled Leon Black and William Barr, current U.S. State Attorney General, being present during some of the abuse. Again, Black and Barr being there, that's just too random. These names never come up in your head. This person, in their mind, is talking about a very specific moment they remember vividly. But Jay-Z wasn't the only cowboy mentioned. It goes on to say, on each occasion, she believed she was drugged, clouding her memory. She attributed the drugging as frequently performed by persons assigned as handlers, whom she described as persons who established friendships with the victim. Among her handlers, she identified the artist Pusha T. What the fuck is Pusha T doing there? It's just so random. Yeah, you can put Pusha T and Jay-Z in the same sentence. It correlates. They're both rappers. They're in the music industry. Have they ever collaborated on a song? I don't know. It goes on to say, in approximately 2007, the person attended a party following invitation from an unknown man who approached her as she walked down a street. Weinstein and Pusha T also attended the party and drugged her before engaging in abuse. She claimed to have additional information of other persons involved in the enterprise and information related to racketeering conducted in support of trafficking. Further believed she was under surveillance and stalked at the direction of the people involved. She confirmed she was not diagnosed with any mental illness and she refused to provide her physical address, advising that she maintained no permanent address. Rather, she moved between staying at different hotels. Now, I've got a couple more emails to show you. And by the way, if you like, please follow me on Twitter. But all that information she's given, there's images in her head that goes back to this. She hasn't forgotten because it's that traumatic. She's telling the truth. Jay-Z, Pusha T, you dirty bastards. Now, there's another email here from someone to Jeffrey Epstein. The majority of the email has been redacted, but look at the subject. Lessons from the Jay-Z business model. Huh? Rockefeller? Rockaware? All of this shit? What is going on? Why is Jay-Z being mentioned? When you guys thought of Jeffrey Epstein, right? When you first heard this name, Jay-Z is not a name that would you associate with him. Now we have another email. Now this is from Jess Staley. Jess Staley is was the CEO of Barclays, the bank. I'm not too sure if he is now, but in 2014, he sends an email to Epstein and he says, "You want to know why we're not in Sao Paulo? Watch the TV ads on the Super Bowl. It's all about hip blacks in hip cars with white women." Huh? But he goes on to say, the group that should be in the streets has been bought off by Jay-Z. What the hell does that mean? So I want to take you back to 2015. Jay-Z collaborated with a woman known as Marina Abramovich. The question is, who is Marina? She seems to be complaining. Well, here are some emails that involve Melina and John Podesta. John Podesta was someone previously who was accused of being a PDF file. So there's a communication between Marina and Tony Podesta. And it says, "Dear Tony, I am so looking forward to the spirit cooking dinner at my place. Do you think you will be able to let me know if your brother is joining?" So you want to know what spirit cooking is? Well, this was an art piece that she did. Take a look. Saliva of your lover mixed with morning dew collected from eucalyptus leaves. What? Goes on to say, cut with the knife deeply into the middle finger of your left hand. Huh? Spirit cooking. Mix fresh breast milk with some sperm milk, drink or earthquake. Bro, what is this sick shit? Yes, this was one of her art pieces. So the question remains, you've got Jay-Z and Pusha T who were linked to Epstein, who I think was just maybe Satan incarnate. Who knows? But he was definitely involved in the occult, right? Harvey Weinstein, we all know about his past misgivings. He's currently in jail. There's always been some theories about Jay-Z, he's involved with the occult, with the hand signals and all that kind of stuff. I've never really believed in conspiracy theories, but now when I see this shit, I think, what the hell is going on? And if you go back to 2015-ish, I do remember there was some hoo-ha over this woman, Marina, this witch, as they called her, and Jay-Z, why are they collaborating, what is going on, etc., etc. But then now, when you connect the fucking dots, how else can you conclude other than saying they're all in cahoots? So why is Jay-Z in cahoots, do you think?
These emails don't tell us, but we can assume that there are many layers of networking. Dig deeper into Jeffrey Epstein, what you'll find is a lot of transgressions, both sexual and violent as well, breaking these social taboos. But if you look at Epstein Island, you will find that there's a temple there that's almost almost designed for ritual sacrifice. Slowly, the inner workings of the elite are being revealed to the public. And all these conspiracy theories that we once the pedophiles, and this marks a radical turning point in American history. So these Epstein files, these emails, they're being released, and they're really enlightening, and they really illuminate for us how power works. So I will give a structural overview of what these emails reveal to us, okay? The first thing it reveals to us is that all these people in power, the elite, they're all friends with each other. So in public, the Democrats and Republicans, they can be fighting each other. But in reality, they go to the same schools, they go to the same parties, they're just friends with each other. So what you're seeing in public, the sort of like political struggle in public, it's all just fake. It's like wrestling. It's reality TV. The elite are all friends with each other. That's the first thing. Second thing that we've noticed about the emails is how cavalier the elite are. They think that they're above everyone else. They think they're untouchable. So they just speak their minds freely. Jeffrey Epstein, he was using Gmail in order to make all these sensitive communications. There's absolutely no operational security. He didn't really care because he believed he was untouchable. And that's how the elite think and behave. They live in a bubble. They think that they control the world, and they're untouchable. So they can do whatever they want. And all that matters is staying within this bubble, staying close to each other. The third thing I will say is that don't tell us, but we can assume that there are many layers of networking among the elite. So Jeffrey Epstein, why was he so popular among the elite? Well, first of all, he was just a friendly guy who did a lot of networking and was able to bring the elite together. But if you go to Epstein Island, you will find that there's a temple there that's almost designed for ritual sacrifice. So what I've researched and what I've discovered is that the way that the elite stay together is through rituals, secret society rituals. Why? Because at the end of the day, if you're part of the elite, your biggest problem is trust. How can you trust that person to not rat you out in this political struggle? And the answer is, well, you blackmail each other, right? So you do acts together that would be considered taboo, including sex with underage children. There are lots of transgressions that you can do. And the more unfortunately, if you dig deeper into Jeffrey Epstein, what you'll find is a lot of transgressions, both sexual and violent as well, breaking these social taboos. Like the public. What's really astonishing about the Jeffrey Epstein case is that slowly the inner workings of the elite are being revealed to the public. And all these conspiracy theories that we once believed couldn't possibly be true, including that the entire American elite are just a bunch of pedophiles. They're slowly turning out to be true. And this marks a radical turning point in American history. Well, we also have to remember that Jeffrey Epstein, in his Manhattan penthouse, there's a painting of Bill Clinton in a dress, in drag, basically. So one possible interpretation is that all these politicians that we think are our representatives, they're all just the playthings of the elite. They're just puppets of the elite. They're just paid actors. They're literally paid actors. And so American democracy has always been a lie. And so Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, they just do the bidding of the powerful. And the powerful are, in their parties, secret parties, laughing at us, mocking us, because they've been able to deceive us. And we every day are fighting over these petty politics that has absolutely nothing to do with real power. So I think that what these Epstein emails reveals is the deep contempt that the elite has for the people. And these politicians are nothing more than just these puppets that the elite display in front of us in order to distract us. Everything's being curated by the powerful. And so what we see in Washington D.C. has never been more than a reality TV show. The first thing we need to understand is that power always consolidates and coalesces. What I mean by that is that these intelligence agencies, Mossad, CIA, MI6, they're all interlocked together. They're all in alliance together. That's the first thing. Second thing is that these intelligence agencies are also in alliance with different secret societies as well as criminal organizations. So from the perspective of people like someone like Jeffrey Epstein, he's the real power in the world. And that's why he thinks that he can dictate foreign policy to everyone. Okay, so I don't think Jeffrey Epstein was actually a spy. I think Ghislaine Maxwell, his girlfriend, was actually the spy. And one good piece of evidence for that is that Ghislaine Maxwell's father, Robert Maxwell, was a notorious spy. And he was working for Mossad, MI6, as well as Russian intelligence, the KGB. So that's how the powerful works. The powerful are almost like a nexus of all these intelligence agencies, foreign governments, secret societies, and criminal organizations. And so they discuss amongst themselves how to best frame issues and how to best push events. So, from the perspective, if you look at more and more of Jeffrey Epstein's emails, what you would discover is that he was privy to a lot of geopolitical events, and in fact, he was actually helping to plan a lot of geopolitical events as well. People forget that Trump's first mentor and his most influential teacher was actually Ray Cohn. Okay, if you look at Ray Cohn, he was part of the Washington gay mafia, and he specialized in blackmailing politicians. He was very good friends with J. Edgar Hoover. They went to each other's parties where they engaged in all these sort of like homosexual endeavors, and they had pictures of each other. So Roy Cohn was the original Jeffrey Epstein, and he was the mentor of Donald Trump. So what did Donald Trump learn from Roy Cohn? He learned how to blackmail other people, but most importantly, this is really important for us to understand, is he learned how to avoid being blackmailed. So another thing that I will say about Donald Trump is that he's a teetotaler. He does not drink. This is really weird because we've known him as a playboy ever since the 19th, and he's always dating these beautiful women. He's always throwing these lavish parties. He's always hanging out with the most famous, the most wealthy, and he himself, even though he's organizing his parties, does not touch alcohol or drugs. Why? Because he learned from Roy Cohn. That's how they get you. Okay. The worst thing that can happen to you is blackmail. So I guarantee you, these emails that are coming out, there's no dirt on this guy. If there was any dirt on this guy, Donald Trump, we would have seen it in 2016 or 2020 when the elite spent $6 billion to get rid of Donald Trump. Okay. So I'm telling you right now, there's absolutely no blackmail on Donald Trump. I'm also telling you that blackmail is just a way of life among the powerful. Epstein and Trump go all the way back. They've known each other ever since the 1980s, and they used to be best friends. Epstein was a frequent visitor to Mar-a-Lago, and then a falling out because Trump believed that Epstein was stealing his workers to go work for himself, and so they had a falling out. And there's informants that landed Epstein in trouble with the law in the first place. And this is back in the early 2000s. So Epstein and Trump had a falling out. Okay, so that's something that we know. That's number one. Number two is that it's, as you say, it's really interesting that Trump doesn't want to talk about Epstein. In fact, he's done a lot to suppress the Epstein files. So why would he do that? So, okay, now let's do a thought experiment. It's really important for us to do a thought experiment to understand what's going on. The year is, so we go back a year, Donald Trump has just won the presidency. And let's just assume what a second term would look like. We would think that would be his main backers. Elon Musk gave $100 million to Trump's campaign, right? We would also expect that in the media, there would be three individuals that would be most supportive of Trump: Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens. Okay. And we can also expect within the US Congress, Trump would have some diehard supporters that would do whatever he wants. Okay. And the two that would come most readily to mind are MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, as well as Lauren Bobbitt. Why? Because during the first term, these two were the most diehard Trump MAGA supporters. Okay. So that's what we expect. Now, what is the reality? The reality is that with Elon Musk, he had a falling out with Donald Trump. You know, he had a black eye, then he left the White House. And after he leaves the White House, he has this tweet, and he's basically like, Trump's in the Epstein files. Mark my words. Okay? That's kind of strange. Then you have Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson turning against Trump, and in fact, doing as much as possible to embarrass the Trump administration. Now, you look at Congress. These Epstein files are being released because four Republican members of Congress have sided with the Democrats in voting for their release. Okay, and these four Republicans are Thomas Massie, Nancy Mace, and Marjorie and Laura Bobbitt. In fact, what we know is that Ted Bundy had a very long meeting with Lauren Bobbitt trying to tell her, hey, man, don't switch sides. Don't vote for the release of these files. The president will be very angry at you, okay? So this is really weird. The people that we expect to most support in the second term have now turned against him. This makes no sense because what did Donald Trump do to piss these people off? And also, like, as he has been breaking a law in his entire life and getting away with it. So he knows how to skirt the law. He knows how to not get in trouble with the law. And he knows how to be careful about someone like Jeffrey Epstein, who cannot keep his mouth shut, okay? So I don't think there's any dirt on this guy. I'd be very surprised if the Epstein files implicate Trump in any manner. I understand, yes, Trump is named a lot in these files. I understand, yeah, Trump could be seen with underage girls. Like, I mean, he was in charge of these like Miss Teen USA pageants, okay? So there's nothing really surprising about these Epstein files. So the question is, why is this happening? And I have a theory, okay? And this theory can be completely idiotic, okay? But I would pose this theory. It's all a show. It's a Trump show. It's all an illusion, okay? These Epstein files do not implicate Trump, but he wants to create a spectacle around the Epstein files. You know, he was the World Wrestling Federation for a long time. He had his own TV show, The Apprentice, for a long time. So he understands TV show plotting. He understands how to maximize an audience emotional reaction to a certain event. What he's doing is creating tension. The Epstein files, like many months ago, and we would go over the Epstein files, and we'd be like, "What is this crap? This tells us nothing that we don't already know. We know Bill Clinton. We know Bill Gates. We know Larry Summers. We know Jamie Dimon. We're all part of the Epstein circle, and they all visited Epstein Island. We all know. We know all this, right? So how do you create a visceral hatred for the elite? What you do is you create as much tension as possible by making this Epstein files as seemingly secretive as possible. But not only that, but you create a situation in which the people are begging for the Epstein files so that when you become more violent. That's the committee, the Democrats are releasing more and more files with Trump being implicated. Trump has announced announced that they will launch an investigation of Bill Clinton and his ties with Epstein. And before, people would be like, this is partisan. Trump is clearly going after Democrats. But now people are like, oh, well, this makes sense because we want more information released about Epstein. Release all the files. Okay. So this is all theater. This is all an illusion. Clinton, main leaders of the Democratic Party in many ways, and it's possible that eventually John Podesta will be implicated as well. Okay, we're seeing these, and it's quite honestly, it's entirely possible that one day Trump will use lawfare against Obama as well. So I know this sounds strange. I know it sounds like conspiracy theory, but just look at the facts before you.
Has anybody asked the question, who is bankrupting Canada at this particular moment in time? Well, it's the keep them high, elbows up, are the same ones that fell for the big bad orange, like the sub forum, the forum of discussion. Reddit was a country. And the Indians that were imported off the boat from the third world from the same government that they voted in because of the big bad orange man and make sure my housing prices stay high. So no, that's really not overly shocking. But, I saw a quote the other day. If Reddit, like the sub forum, the forum of discussion, Reddit was a country, it would be like most Canadians are generally retarded. Most Canadians have the moral superiority complex that if they were eating off of the outhouse toilet seat of an outhouse porta potty for the rest of their lives, they would still think that they are morally superior to Americans, which is, again, far from the truth. I played professional hockey down in the States. I lived in multiple states. my quality of life, the people, everything was superior. And I felt way safer in the US than I did in Canada, which not a lot of people want to talk about. It's also interesting too. I went to Alaska last summer, and the Americans that were down there, they talked about just like how rude and unfriendly Canadians have become in the past decade. Interesting. But moral of the discussion, who is bankrupt in Canada? Free shit, right? Canadians don't want freedom. They want free stuff. So for example, if you tell Canadians you're going to lose your free healthcare, they'll have a meltdown. Well, how could you take away my free healthcare? Well, it's not free, Becky. You pay for it through your taxes. You pay the taxes, which is why we're taxed so high. The government takes that money and then gives you free healthcare. God forbid anybody in Canada actually took some personal ownership and responsibility for don't get fat, exercise properly, go for walks, get some sunlight, sleep properly for yourself, and maybe do a little bit of financial budgeting. But it's free healthcare or bankruptcy. Well, if you're an idiot, not for some of us, but if you're an idiot, yes. But that's not a thought process that comes in Canada, right? There are so many issues in regards to bankrupting Canada, and I'm going to do a bigger talk about why I don't trust Pierre Poilievre or Mark Carney or any of the politicians in Canada. But I want you to think about this for a second. Have you ever noticed the politicians, they never talk about making houses cheaper. They talk about making them more affordable. Well, what does that mean? Well, they're never going to make the housing prices go down because houses are 60% of the entire assets in Canada. Half of it's in the dirt, half of it is the house on top of the dirt, which is, it's crazy the fact that that's the biggest casino in Canada is put money into a home, wait for it to appreciate. Don't innovate, don't create anything, don't be a productive member of society. In Canada, we hate if you are a productive member of society. The 20% that are productive will always subsidize the unproductive with the free shit and the hand-me-outs. And you know, it's interesting. Of all the women that I've dated, they've all, with the exception of one, worked for the government. And I saw a stat the other day that 30% of Canadians work for the government. And so first true long-term girlfriend that I had, we were together for about 2.5 years. She worked at a corrections facility for the government. Girlfriend after that, she was actually a massage therapist. But I remember after about 2 weeks of working full-time, I wish I had a government job. It'd be so much easier. Girl after that, she worked for what would it have been? It was like helping at-risk youth build resumes. And she worked for the government. I remember she'd work from home 4 days a week, and she'd start at 9 o'clock. And at 8:58, she'd hop in the shower. Like, Travis, would you mind bringing me my laptop? I said, what do you need your laptop for? I just need to wiggle my mouse so it looks like I'm active on the website. This is what they're paying you for? Are you serious? And then throughout the day, she'd wiggle the mouse. She'd watch trashy reality TV. She'd be cooking, be knitting, doing anything but work. But somehow the government was paying her $25 an hour to do this job, right? Another girl that I dated more so recently, we were together for about a year and a bit. She worked for an architecture firm, and all of their contracts were from the government. So yes, she is hired by a private company, but that private company is funded by the government, and every other subsequential for the government. So the fact that 30% of Neons voted for this. And so you wonder why everything's become so expensive, because everybody works for the damn government. And everybody votes for more government and bigger government. It just goes on and on and on. Everybody wants free stuff. Nobody wants to actually go to work. I don't know if anybody saw in Vancouver last year, Amazon, I believe it was Amazon, all the staff didn't want to go back to work 3 days a week. They wanted to go to work 1 day a week. They had a big protest. I don't feel safe going back to work. Get a life. You have to show up to work. Right? There was another girl I dated. She worked from home 4 days a week and then would go into the office 1 day a week. And they came back after the scandemic and said, you're going to be going into the office 3 days a week. And I remember listening to the Zoom call where they were talking about this as a company, and they asked her for her opinion. She said, well, I don't want to commute into work. It's very stressful going an hour there, an hour back. I'm like, does everybody just want to get paid to do nothing and get free shit? Like, this is where the country is at. And so you wonder why the country's going bankrupt, because if nobody does anything, everybody wants to sit with their hands out, like, give me money, give me money, give me money, give me some free stuff, which isn't even free. And then you wonder why the country is so far into debt, and they're running a $90 billion deficit this year anyway. At least that's what they're telling us. It's funny. Last year they said we'll we'll run a $40 billion, and they ran $60 billion. And then elbows up campaign, we're going to cut the deficit. We're only going to increase it by 50% from 60 billion to 90 billion, or excuse me, might be 80, 85 billion, whatever. But it just blows my mind. The fact that the RCMP had this secret report that came out a couple weeks ago. Well, actually came out a year ago. It's been getting some traction the last couple weeks. And they the government reached out to the RCMP and said, you guys need to prepare for a massive revolt. If the Canadian population understands how broke we are and where the country is headed, there'll be a massive revolution tomorrow. And I actually disagree with the Liberals on this. I think that if you gave all of the information to the general public and you genuinely told them what was happening, they would again be concerned for maybe 2 days. They tweet about it. They post on Facebook. Hey, Ralph, did you see we're going broke? Did you see they're trying to run Canada into the ground so there can be a workers' camp for resources? That they'll pull the resources out of the ground in 50 years when everybody's a slave, like in the SpongeBob movie, when everybody is a slave to the chum bucket for plankton after it gets the Krabby Patty secret formula. But again, there will be no Krabby Patties. It'll just be all hail plankton to the chum bucket. But most people don't realize that. And then you look at the collapse formula for every single empire ever built. Everyone, doesn't matter if it was the British Empire, the French Empire, the Spanish Empire, the Roman Empire, every empire fell the exact same copy and paste way. And I'm not going to say it in the video because I feel like YouTube may take this one down if I give all the details of it. It might be too truthful. But pause the video right now, go look at it, and then come back and we'll pick up this conversation. But it's fascinating because we are at the very tail end of stage 7, approaching stage 8. And stage 8 is the final ending. And if you follow the changes that the world has made over the past 6 years, I suppose, with the goal of hitting most of them by 2030, maybe 2031, if people aren't scared and waking up yet, I don't think they ever will. Right? I remember during the scamdemic in 2021 thinking to myself, there's no way that people are buying this shit. And then you fast forward, they take it for another year. And then somehow, I don't know how this was able to even happen. The testosterone levels got so high in this country, despite all the soy lattes and all the soybeans and the cricket plants, that nobody wants to eat meat because it's taxed into poverty or taxed into infinity. The trucker convoy happens, and the biggest hero since WW2 marched down to Ottawa in their trucks and said, no, we're not doing this anymore. We like our country. We want our country back. And it's funny, they had, what was it, bouncing trampolines? Those things like where kids bounce up and down. Bouncy castles, that's what they're called. They had bouncy castles, they're barbecuing smokies. Everybody's having a good time. There's probably some guys that the government hired to go with the German guy's flag. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on YouTube or not. And then the CBC and the CTV, they all, look at that one guy with the flag. These people are crazy. Would not be shocked at all if that was a government plan. But it's interesting. You can't ask for your freedom back and to have your country back. God forbid we live in a country that looks like what it was settled on from Confederation in the late 1800s. But if you wanted to go smoke crack by a children's playground, you're allowed to. You want to go rob a store, you want to go shoot up some homes in Brampton, you want to break in, murder a family in broad daylight, take all their shit, traumatize their kids, you're allowed to. Even, you know what, to give you an idea of like how morally corrupt things are in Canada, I think that I get it. There's some things that maybe we disagree on. Some people are pro-choice. Some people are pro-life. Some people want harsh sentences in the justice system. Some people want softer sentences and are a little bit more empathetic. There's lots of different ways. Some people want to be straight and have kids and have a traditional nuclear family. Other people want to be gay. I get it. People have different tastes, different strokes for different folks. But I think something that we should all collectively, 100% of the population, be able to agree on is that taking advantage of underage kids is not only heinous, not only should you have a mandatory sentence, you should be taken out back and shot, right? Taking advantage of underage girls, underage boys, children, I think is probably the most evil thing somebody can do. And when the Supreme Court of Canada, 1 year mandatory sentence for child predators, like where are we at? And then they've started calling them minor attracted people. They're people who are attracted to minors. No, they're pedophiles. They touch kids. They're evil. Right? They should not be allowed in society. Where we are at. This is how things have broken down, where we can't even collectively agree that taking advantage of kids is allowed, or that is not allowed. Excuse me. It is a crazy place. And I know that I haven't even seen most of it, being born in the 90s. But I can only imagine if you were eyes wide open, not eyes wide shut, in the 70s or the 80s compared to now, you'd just be shaking your head. I wonder, there's no way to find this out, but I wonder if our grandfathers, our ancestors that fought in WW1, WW2, if they saw the state of things right now, they would say, you know what? We're going to put our feet up on the desk and let it all burn down, type of deal. And this is why I call this the Great Decline of Canada. There is no political solution to this. The population is too stupid. There's nothing you can do to vote your way out of it. You can partially vote your way out by choosing to spend your money and moving your dollars accordingly, because where money flows, movement goes, type of deal. As one of my old coaches in professional hockey used to tell me, motion is lotion, baby. You got to keep it moving. Motion is lotion. I like that one. That always stuck with me. But this is the state of Canada. This is a great decline. You can't do nothing about it. It's going to happen whether you like it or not. Put your feet up on the desk. Prepare. Protect your family, your loved ones, the people that matter at all to you. Put a financial fence or a fence around them and do your best to plan for the end, because it is coming for all of us, myself included. Do you want to be God at the beginning, the middle, or the end? And I don't know about you, I will not be wearing a chum bucket helmet yelling all hail plankton to our fearless emperor, whoever it is at the time. But if you agree and you support the creation of this content, there is a Patreon link and a YouTube channels member down below. You can click that to support this channel, because I don't see anybody else talking about this type of stuff. All of the conservative freedom fighters and political commentators, I don't see them talking about the real shit. They're just farting in the wind, if you will. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section below. But if you want to support the creation of content like this, that is the place to do it. Thank you for watching. See you soon.
The public. While much of the shocking content was expected, what caught many off guard was that some of the files
Wherever I land, I must be fly myself, and I ain't playing out one damn game. I'm swerving with a purpose, A nigga been sipping on that purple. A nigga been cheaping on that purple. Cause I'm getting money. I'm getting money. Cause I'm getting money. And I'm laughing all the way to the motherfucking page. And I'm telling her, tell me like, and she thinking what I'm thinking. Damn it, get money. So motherfucking diamond, time, King Leo, like a